I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Karen. Okay. All right. So, good morning. Welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Bonnie Rose, the minister, and I also want to welcome our folks that are looking online. I have a few announcements to start. Oh, look at this. Isn't this the sweetest? Huh. Okay. All of our information is on the website, www.venturacsl.org. And if you are a first-time visitor or anybody, please feel free to check in with one of our ambassadors if you have any questions. Our ambassadors today are, where are you at, folks? There's Rhina. Rhina's an ambassador right there with her teal stole and her purple hair. And then, and we have another one too, and I can't remember who it is, but anyway. Pam. Okay, Pam, thank you. Okay, good. We have a flower dedication today, and the flowers are dedicated to Deborah Schreiber for all of her support from Kathy Walker. And our flowers are beautiful, but not as beautiful as Deborah. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Okay. We have a choir. Choir is singing today, and they are rehearsing today at noon. This is so the choir members can bid on the Gourmet for God parties. So choir rehearsal downstairs at noon, and if you are new and you'd like to join the choir, by all means, feel free just to show up downstairs at noon and you can sing along, and everybody is welcome. We have a science and spirituality group. They are meeting on May 21st. They meet every third Wednesday. And the book that they are teaching from this week is, or this month rather, is From Science to God by Peter Russell. Okay. Also, on May 4th, that's next Sunday after the service, Bernie Austin and I are doing a discussion. We're facilitating a discussion about sacred service at Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. We are encouraging everybody who has ever volunteered or anybody who wants to volunteer in the future to come, because service really, really helps us get involved. And when we get involved, we evolve. Thank you, Donna Butler, for that. So say yes to kindness, show up for the service meeting. It would be helpful if you would sign up for it at the kiosk over there, because that way we know how many people are coming. Your presence matters here, and together we are evolving a world that works for all. With that in heart and mind, looking for our youngest members, let us go ahead and invite Jennifer forward. Reverend Jennifer. Do I have the what?
Is it on because I forgot to grab it.
Hi, welcome. You all right? Oh, good job. Yeah.
When mine were this small, they used to run across the stage and dive off of the end.
That's right.
And so we didn't usually have the kids come down for several years until they're all grown now. So. Oh, like Reverend Bonnie said, I'm Reverend Jennifer. I am not Mr. Bill with Youth and Family. I am sorry. I'm really sorry. He's traveling with Tommy through Nevada and Arizona today. So Mr. Bill's out on having an adventure. But we're going to have our own adventure here in Youth and Family. So this month, Reverend Bonnie is speaking in the big church about this book called Into the Magic Shop. And in this book, James Doty goes to a magic shop to get a magic trick. He wants a new trick. And there he meets a woman, and she teaches him how to find real magic within him. And so today we're going to explore over in the Heron House how we're going to find our own magic within each of us. So I found a quote by Ernest Holmes, the founder of our thing here, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It says, "Words have no magic in themselves. Their power consists not in the words, but in the conviction spoken through them." So, if I asked you right now, did any of you want to tell me something that you might really, really want? Do you have anything you really want? Ruby, you have something you really want?
Yeah.
What do you want? You want to say it in the microphone?
I want a blue pencil.
A blue pencil. That's pretty cool. How about you, Kaya?
I don't know.
You don't know? I want pizza because I was talking to Mr. Josh and we were talking about our gourmets for God and I want pizza. But what happens sometimes is if we just ask ourselves out of the blue, what do we want? We might come up with something from our stomach, or we might come up with something from society, or what our parents want, or all these other things. So what we're going to work on today is our own magic shop. So we're going to go into our own magic shop. We're going to have this little craft. So that's a magic shop door. And when we open the door, we're going to discover what we want inside. And the way we discover what we really, really want inside is by focusing on what our hearts want. So we're not going to bypass our hearts today. We're going to focus on what our hearts want. So if everybody, you guys want to see this is what we're going to do today. It's blank inside because I haven't focused yet, see? So what we're going to do, I'm going to invite everybody if you can. Everybody here, think about what we just did with the kids here, and think about what you might want just off the top of your head. All right, now we're going to shift. We're going to take a deep breath. Can we all take a deep breath? And then if you could think from your heart space what you really, really want. See if that maybe is a little different than what was just off the top of your head. Okay? So with that, we're going to have our closing affirmation, and today all three of us are going to do that next door. We're going to do a little meditation, and we're going to do a craft, okay? Because the craft will help us anchor into the meditation. So with that, let's all take a deep breath, and let's all say the affirmation. Why don't we repeat the affirmation? My heart always provides my magic.
My heart always provides my magic.
And so it is. Thank you,
And
everybody.
so it is. Thank you. Thanks, Jen. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face. Thank you. Hello. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Thank you. And so it is. And now we're going to invite Lacey, our practitioner for today, in her purple pants, yay, to lead us in prayer.
First, I'll start with a little sentence or two here. Choosing to have joy is not naively thinking everything will be easy. It is courageously believing that there is still hope even when things seem difficult. And now we pray. We know there's only one life, and that life is God's life. And God's life is the life of everyone, everywhere, all the time, no matter what. God is in each and every one of us, including everyone in this room, everywhere, all around the world, maybe also out in the universe further. And we know that God is kindness and goodness, and that we all are a part of that, and that everything that takes place is based upon God's desires for us, and everything unfolds perfectly. And with that, I release my words into the universal law, knowing as I speak them, they are already so. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Lacey. And as we breathe together, let us continue to let go, to allow ourselves to be, to simply know that here in the stillness, there's this voice, this power, this presence, this oneness that is greater than any appearance of division. Here in this oneness that encompasses all things, we abide. And we abide in it always, but this morning we choose to remember. We choose to remember by giving it attention. Giving the attention to oneness with our minds, but also feeling that sense of oneness in the heart and in the body. And so often when we feel something, we are inspired. And this morning, let us be inspired to sing about the principle of oneness that lives and moves and has its perfect being through us, whether we see it or not. Today, we choose to see it, and we choose to be it. As we sing together, our song is I Am Remembering Who I Am, and I Am is another name for God or Spirit or oneness or wholeness. Today, we remember the Spirit and the truth of our innate being and our innate activity here on the planet Earth. Together we sing, I am remembering who I am, not only for ourselves, but on behalf of all beings everywhere. We allow it to fill our hearts. We allow our song to ripple out and bless the world. As together we sing, I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am oneness. I am remembering who I am. I am wholeness. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am peace. I am remembering who I am. I am love. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who from this place of divine remembrance, remembrance of that which we always are, even when we forget. Let us rest in that memory, in that knowing, right here and right now, as we breathe in deeply. And then gently exhale, opening our eyes as love, in love, and in service to what is, as it is, and so it is. Namaste. Up Mount Calvary, carrying the cross. Okay, was that sacrilegious or what? All righty. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Church of Joy, church where we are a center of love, where we aspire to be love, share love, and serve love. Today's talk is called Get a God Upgrade. Get a God upgrade. And you can see that orange cat crossing from Adam to God. This is my version of a God upgrade. And I hope that this is not disrespectful of any faith, especially our dear Pope Francis, who made his transition earlier this week. Bless his heart. All right. So I'm going to start by telling you a story by Mauro Bergonzone, who is a non-dual teacher. And it's a story about a fish and a turtle. There was once a talking fish. And one day, this fish decided to have a conversation with a nearby turtle in the ocean. And he said, you know, I've heard about this thing called the ocean. There's this thing called the ocean. Does it really exist? Because I'm looking around in search of it, and I can't see it anywhere. I can see sand, I can see shells, I can see other fish. But where is this thing called ocean? Well, the turtle answered. The turtle said, the ocean is everywhere, inside and outside of you. But if you're looking for a specific thing, looking for it in a specific thing, then you'll miss it. The fish said, ah. The fish said, ah. And then he became enlightened. This story is a metaphor for God and our relationship with God or spirit or whatever it is you want to call this infinite energy that created the universe and created us. Spirit is invisible, but it's everywhere. We can't see it because it's everywhere. It's like air or energy, and it cannot be contained. We so want to understand God. We want to understand it. We want to put it in a box of our own understanding. So we look for God in specific things. And we catch fragments of God in this net of our minds. And sometimes we call the fragments of the allness that we catch in our minds, we call that God. And we think we know God. But really, just as a fisherman's net is a bunch of holes held together by ropes, just as a net can catch fish or shells or coral, just as a net cannot catch the water in which it's totally immersed, the net of our thoughts, I said the net of our thoughts, can only grasp fragmented concepts about reality. But reality is always beyond our reach. And that's a good thing, because that means reality is infinite. And it means that we are part of the infinite, and the infinite is with us all the time. Again, what's half of infinity? Infinity. Thank you. What is 1/10 of infinity? Infinity. Thank you. Say it with feeling this time. What is 1/10 of infinity? Infinity. Thank you. Okay. So how does this notion of infinity and this ocean and fish and turtle story, how does this help us? How does this help us as we learn to navigate this place called existence? Well, I've shared this quote from Anne Lamott recently, but it bears sharing again. And she wrote, "You can safely assume you've created God in your own image when it turns out that God hates all the same people you do." How unfortunate is that? And I think, if Jesus had had social media, man, that would have been strange. So the net, the container of our thought, our ego, creates God in the image of what we think we know. And sometimes God, our version of God, is modeled after past authority figures. And as such, we may create a God that is judgmental or indifferent or withholding or cantankerous, a God that judges self and others. And our self-created God, like Anne Lamott said, may disdain or hate the people that we seem to hate, the people that we disdain. But I want to take this in a slightly different direction, in the direction of our relationship with ourselves. Because it seems to me that sometimes we create a God who dislikes the things that we dislike about ourselves. We may have created an inner God that insists on our shame. And this God has a name. The name of this God is the inner critic. We create a false God out of the inner critic. You know I love that picture of the... It's from Psycho. It's a shower curtain, and you can purchase that online if you like, by the way. It's a shower curtain with the Psycho person on it. Norman Bates, I guess, dressed up like his mom. But isn't it a good reflection of the inner critic? The inner critic is in us going, beep, 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 all the time, right? with the violins and the bird screeching, right? We create a false God out of the inner critic and we bow to it. We treat the inner critic like it is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. And the sad thing about that is when we are really, really married to our inner critic, when we repeat it over and over again, when we hear its voice over and over again, we cannot imagine any other possibility. This false God of the inner critic seems real. Is there anybody here who does not have an inner critic? I was hoping someone would stand up so you could get up here and tell us your secret. So, okay, I guess it's back on me. Okay. Anyway, take a moment to notice that if perhaps you have created a false judging God out of your inner critic, and do you give your inner critic way too much power? And is it present and all-knowing? Is it omnipresent? Is it in everything that you do or most of what you do? And do you believe in your inner critic more than you believe in the possibility of something better? And how might this belief, because here we believe that our belief affects the quality of our experience here on the planet Earth, how might this belief in the power of your inner critic, how might that affect your life, the quality of your experience here on Earth? And then, the most important question, is my inner critic sealed in stone? Can I change? Can I disempower the false God of the inner critic? And can I get an inner critic upgrade? I believe that we can, and we can start right now, today, with all of us working together in community. You know, the inner critic may feel like reality, but reality is a habit, and a habit is a series of thoughts, and a thought can be changed, one thought at a time. And when we change our thought about reality, or when we change our thoughts about ourselves, then the reality of life and who we are in life changes. As Reverend Jennifer mentioned, we're currently working on these two books by James Doty. They're on the altar here, and I think we have some in the bookstore still, but you can get them online too if you like. Books by James Doty, Into the Magic Shop and Mind Magic. And Jim is an atheist. The author, Jim, is an atheist who doesn't know he believes in God. Jim did, however, believe in his inner critic. His inner critic, when he was a child, had a very, very strong voice. He was raised in an environment of toxic shame, and he learned how to manifest a better life when he went into a magic shop. And he started working with a mindfulness teacher named Ruth. Later on, Jim became a neuroscientist who studied the brain science of manifestation. In the book Mind Magic, Jim talks about 4 neural networks that influence our capacity to manifest intentionally. Oops, yeah, okay. Ooh, come back, Stinky. Sorry, okay. Ooh. I love it when I screw up. Okay, alrighty. There we go. Okay, the first network is called the Central Executive Network, and that's kind of like the manager. That's the boss network. Let's put it that way. It's kind of like the parent that kind of negotiates between the other networks. And I'm going to do this really briefly. There's more details in the book about it, but I'm not a science teacher. I know a little bit about the brain because I used to work in that field, but I'm not an expert by any means. Anyway, the Central Executive Network is kind of like the boss, right? Then there's this thing called the default mode network. This is where the inner critic lives. Because, have you noticed that by default, we often go to criticism of ourselves and of others? This is about survival. Something within us gets stimulated and it feels like a threat, and we often go to this place of inner critic, a place of default. Our default could be something else, but instead, our default is often responding to threats with self-criticism or criticism of others and fear. The next mode that I want to talk about is called the salience network. Salience means important, right? And the salience network is the part of the brain that identifies what is important to us and then directs the brain and the life and our thought accordingly. Often, the inner critic seems very important to us. We think the inner critic is going to fix us so that we finally get it right, and that feels important. Then there's the attention network. The attention network decides where our attention goes. And again, our attention often goes to what feels like a threat or what feels like it might have gone wrong, or it often goes to what we think is wrong with us. And again, this gives power to the almighty, falsely empowered inner critic. Now, these networks work together to create our version of reality, and I'm going to give you an example of this. You've heard me tell this story before, but it fits so well in with what I'm talking about today that I'm going to tell it again. One of my friends from high school, one of my best friends from high school, is a concert pianist, and she made her debut at Carnegie Hall probably 30 years ago or so. And I asked her how it went. We were crossing the street in New York, going to brunch, and I asked her, how'd the concert go? And she said, I played a wrong note. I played a wrong note. And I guess it was kind of a prominent, well-known section of her piece, and it was a very, I don't know, I guess to her it was a really awful wrong note that she played. Is there ever a really beautiful wrong note? Yeah, well, there is, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, she played this wrong note in a prominent passage, and the wrong note became salient to her. It became all important. The wrong note became a false devil in her mind. And then she gave that wrong note a lot of attention. It activated her attention network, and it became her default, her way of thinking. And I don't know how many times she replayed that wrong note over and over and over in her head. I'll bet if I were to ask her about it today, if I were to pick up my phone and call her and say, how about that Carnegie Hall debut, she'd say, I played a wrong note, right? And I say this, it's not about just my friend Barry is her name, but it's not just about her, it's about all of us. That when we make a mistake, when we feel like we've been blamed for something, when we feel guilty about something, when we feel like we're judging something in ourselves, we play that note over and over and over again. We are Johnny One Note, people. Anybody know that song? Johnny could only play one note, and the note he played was this. What? Maybe I picked the wrong key. Okay. Johnny could only play one note, and the note he played was this. You suck. That's sorry. No, not you. Not you. That's what the. Okay, I should just go home. Goodbye, y'all. That's what the inner critic is saying to us constantly. Okay, right? I wasn't saying, you suck. I was saying that the inner critic says to us, you suck. Okay. How many times can I say that word in church? Somebody track that for me, would you? Okay. All right. Anyway, the point is that perhaps we have a story in our heads about how awful we are, about how bad we're doing in life, what is wrong with us, and we're playing that over and over and over again. But the truth is, again, I will mention this one more time, and I'll continue to mention this, is that the voice of the inner critic is optional. It is optional. It feels so real because we feed it all of this power through these networks, but the voice of the inner critic is optional. It is a way of seeing inside of ourselves that is completely optional and often misguided. How many of you have seen this optical illusion? How many circles are there? And how many squares are there? Now, I know the first time I saw this, I said, there are 4 circles and 1 square. But the truth is that there are no circles and no squares. What we think are circles are little Pac-Man-like figures, right? But our mind is filling in the blanks. And it's a little hard to see in this unfocused graphic, but really the square in the center is not really a square because it's not 4 continuous lines forming a box. There's blank spots where it's not really forming a square. But the point of this is that our mind will fill in the blanks. Probably a lot of us believed when we saw this that there were 4 circles and 1 square. Maybe some of us still believe it. But the truth is that the brain is constantly filling in the blanks based on what it expects to see. The brain turns illusions into reality. Back to the idea of the false god of the inner critic, if you are in the habit of empowering the false god of the inner critic, you will find many opportunities to fill in the blanks, to see where you have assumed flaws and see, you know what? The inner critic was right. I do. I am stinky. Let's put it that way. And then we lean into the habit of shame about who we are. And that serves no one. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve the world. The good news is that based on principles of neuroplasticity, we can train the brain to do something else. We can recognize that the inner critic is a habit, it is a default. We can see that the voice of the inner critic that feels so real. It feels so important. We can see how the attention network picks it up and calls it reality. And when we see this, we can choose. Awareness is curative. We can choose something new. And so today, this morning, we've talked about the problem. Let's talk about a possible solution. Let's talk about how we can work with our inner critic in a new way to change our thinking and change our lives so that we can restore ourselves to the wholeness that we already are. Remember, there is nothing to be healed, only wholeness to be revealed. Let us reveal wholeness right here and right now in this spiritual center. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is compassion for the critic. If you think about a time that you were criticized, whether it was an inner critic or an outer critic, and really they're both the same, because as many of you know, I often go back to that verse from the Gospel of Thomas, when the inside becomes the outside and the outside becomes the inside, then we abide in the realm of heaven on earth, right? The inner and the outer are the same. When you were criticized, whether from somebody outside of yourself or when somebody inside of yourself, did you leap into compassion for the criticizer? Probably not. Criticism is an opportunity in disguise. It's an opportunity for compassion. I think the Buddha recognized this when he said that all beings experience suffering and that all beings long to be happy. Critics, inner and outer, are trying to help us for the most part. They're trying to be happy and they're trying to alleviate suffering, perhaps even their own suffering. And I think this is why Jesus advocates that we bless those who curse us. Because our default mode is to criticize the critic, but we can change that. We can recognize that the critic is suffering, that the critic is seeking happiness, that they are seeking their good, that they're trying to help, that they're trying to be safe, and then we can bless the inner critic. We can emulate Dr. Martin Luther King, who realized that hatred cannot drive out hatred. And we can recognize with him, in a paraphrase, we can recognize that criticizing the inner critic does not silence the inner critic. What do we do instead? Well, maybe we can feel how much the inner critic wants to help. And we can say, thank you for trying. And then just let go. Take a moment now just to feel the inner critic. You know, you don't need to activate it, but just feel what it feels like for just a moment, and then just breathe in and exhale and just let it go. Just let it go. There's a line from the Sedona method, which I've studied years ago. They always tell you, just let go. And then they ask, could you let go? The answer is yes, it's possible to let go. Would you let go? That's a moment of choice. And when will you let go? How about right now? Another way to help us to let go, or a way to help us let go, is through strategy number 2, and that is a cognitive reframe. That is recognizing something about criticism. We can always consider that criticism may not be criticism. Again, this is whether it's an inner critic or an outer critic. Criticism may simply be a difference of opinion with baggage sticking to it. Right now, I'm in the middle of a sticky, baggagey debate. I'm feeling criticized and attacked. It's not here, lest anybody be wondering if it's you. It's not you. It's away from here. The criticism of somebody outside of my head leaps in and inspires the inner critic to tell me what's wrong with me. The inner critic starts this monologue, this very important, very salient monologue about how bad I am and what I've done wrong and why I should feel guilty. And then I start believing the voice of the inner critic and the outer critic. The default response to criticism is to believe that it's true. And that's why we get defensive. That's why we fight back. I have found it helpful in this situation to step back and say, oh, wait a minute. This thing that feels like criticism, this thing that looks like criticism, it's really just a difference of opinion. It's a difference of opinion of how I should be different. It's a difference of opinion of what I need to do to be liked by this person. It's a difference of opinion of what I need to do to be liked by myself. This is just the critic's opinion. Yes. And I'll tell you that treating criticism as a difference of opinion has been extremely helpful. It removes a lot of the heat from it, and it inspires something else. It inspires curiosity, which may lead to greater understanding, which is something that I think in our heart we all want, understanding of the self and the other. You may be saying, my situation's different. This person really is critical, and this person really is condemning me, and my inner critic is really a beast. What if it is criticism with condemnation? It could be. I'm not saying that doesn't happen sometimes, and that can be very painful. But then there's another tool that I'm going to offer you, and that's tool number 3. We can calm the urge to condemn the criticism of others. Criticism with condemnation is an opportunity to calm down and practice. The practice is A, refrain from criticizing others. B, refrain from taking our criticism of others too seriously. And C, all of the above. Here's the thing. Ernest Holmes, our founder, wrote, "Your judgment judges you." And he was right. And I have found that if I take my criticism of others too seriously, then I start building the neural network that says criticism is real, criticism is the truth, criticism is power, and criticism can condemn. I've found instead, when I remember that it's better to hold judgments lightly, and to recognize that we, too, are merely expressing a difference of opinion. When I criticize someone, I am merely expressing a difference of opinion of how they should be better, how they should be more like me, how they should think what I think, how they should be conducting their search for happiness, how they should be suffering or not suffering, how they should be seeking their good. And certainly we can make loving suggestions, loving, non-attached suggestions. But if we give our criticisms of others too much power, then that will come back to bite us. It will come back to bite us in the brain or the booty. It'll come back to bite us somewhere. Remember, your judgment judges you. I'm going to say it again just to make sure we all get it. If we take our criticism of others too seriously, if we think it's all-powerful, then that comes back to get us, because when others criticize us, then we have this idea that criticism is powerful and criticism can hurt us, when really we can be like Teflon and have it slide away. Your judgment judges you, and here's some good news. Your forgiveness forgives you as well. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, it is all self-forgiveness. Recently, just this last week, I had a moment of truth where I woke up one morning and I just woke up in this mood, in this beautiful state of bliss. And I realized in this state of bliss that I've been extremely self-critical the day before. And not only was I self-critical, I was making a false god out of the inner critic. I was making her important. I was giving her lots of attention, lots of salience. I decided to change the default. And so I embarked on a day of persistent self-forgiveness, and it felt so good. I felt that I had more patience with myself. I felt happier. I felt lighter. I felt more productive. I felt that I had more patience with others, even the super annoying people in my life. I felt that I had more patience with them. Ooh, that was a judgment. So sorry. Anyway, I felt that I had more patience with those who had a difference of opinion than me about certain things. And then blessedly, in the midst of this self-forgiveness storm, I remembered something really important. One of the aspects of the protection of the inner critic that thinks it's helping us, in her quest for safety, she shuns possibility. She focuses on limits. She defaults to limits. And in that state of seeing that, I remembered this. Impossible is just an opinion. Take a moment to take that in. What are you telling yourself is impossible? Whether it's about yourself or something outside. And can you just stretch your heart open just a tad, just a bit, to recognize that impossible is just an opinion? This is truth. We are speaking truth here this morning. This is truth because there is a good for you and you get to have it. And part of receiving your good is to let go of the empowered inner critic and then to slide into that ocean that we talked about at the beginning, that ocean of infinite possibility. Your innate wholeness, longing to express uniquely as each of you. Because wholeness is who you are. So let us celebrate that wholeness. Let us celebrate it now, and let us pray. Together we turn to that grace that brought us here today by divine appointment. We acknowledge the wholeness of the divine that lives and moves and has its perfect being in each of us, as us, in wonderful, unique, glorious ways. We look at the blessings that surround us, the blessings that are obvious, the blessings that are less than obvious, even the blessing of the inner critic, because the inner critic is here to inspire us to let go and be the possible, be the possibility that we long to see in the world. And so today I align with that possibility. I align with the knowing of a God upgrade, of an inner critic upgrade. I align with the knowing that a thought is only a thought, and a thought can be changed, and a habit is a series of thoughts, and a habit can be changed. And so today I renounce old habits of limitation and lack, and I step into the beingness of knowing the truth of our existence, that we are here to expand, we are here to love, we are here to court possibility, we are here to be the wholeness of spirit, moving and living and having its being through each of us. And so I am just so grateful for the transformation that is taking place right here, right now, in this spiritual community, both individually and collectively. I am grateful that we get to be change makers in a world that seems troubled sometimes, that we get to step forth in greater loving kindness, that we get to step forth in greater grace, that we get to step forth in the knowing of the power and the presence of the One, of leading by inner transformation and being that place of goodness in the world. I'm so grateful for this and so much more. And in this place of gratitude, I bless this beautiful spiritual center and its teaching. I bless everyone here. I bless all paths to God. Churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, gurdwaras, fundamentalists, atheists, all beings everywhere, for all beings are a blessing in their own way. And with a heart so filled with gratitude, I say thank you, Spirit. Thank you, love. And I release these words into the divine mystery of the law. And together we say, and so it is. Namaste. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Bonnie. Thank you for your vulnerability.
Oh.
You know, before I came to the center, I thought my inner critic was an only child.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know you all had an inner critic. I didn't know there were so many relatives.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
I know,
Yeah,
but
right.
it feels good to know that. And then I thought, okay, I want to vote the inner critic off the island. But how successful have you been with that?
Voting the inner critic off the island?
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much.
It doesn't help.
Doesn't work.
And then I wondered, like, why is she an insomniac? Like, why do I have to hear this at 2 a.m?
Yep.
I know.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can relate. But what you gave us today was an inner critic makeover.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
It's kind of like what not to wear.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to let our
Oh my
inner critic
gosh.
know that.
Preach, girl. You preach. Love it.
I'm just inspired.
That's right.
Well, it was, you know, a couple of things that you said.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, you suck. That one stuck.
You suck. I know. I will never live that down, y'all. Sorry about that.
I was like, oh, my inner critic's going to have
But-
fun
but-
with that.
but some-
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
my inner critic is going wild. You know that I wasn't saying you suck, right? I was saying that the voice of the inner critic says, I suck. Right? Okay.
I know that clarity was important.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. She wasn't saying you suck.
Right. Thank you.
We're all in this together.
That's right.
So this morning, I just invite you to think of ways to make over your inner critic. I'm going to get busy with that because I think she doesn't need to be up at 2 a.m.
I think you're right.
Like, she must need some rest.
Yeah.
So this morning, in that place of humor and love and the craziness that we are in life, that we're all coming together to be love, serve love, and share love, we'll do our offering prayer. We trust in spirit.
Love is the giver and receiver of all that we are.
We offer this gift. It is an outer expression of our inner abundance and compassion. Our gifts bless many and multiplied in miraculous ways so that we may give again. And so it is.
Thank you, Lonnie. Okay, so thanks again, everybody. Just a few more announcements. Today is the last day for bidding for Gourmets for God. For those of you who are brand new, Gourmets for God is a fundraiser for our church, and you bid on a bunch of parties, and you get to meet people, and it's super fun. So go on out there and bid on your parties. It ends at 12 o'clock. There is an event coming up, A Path of Joy, May 17th, the Vesak celebration, which is a Buddhist tradition, and it's facilitated by David Kerrigan. It's a celebration of the Buddha's birth, awakening, and final passing. There will be meditation, chanting, and inspiration for living in the world today. This is a lovely event. I highly recommend that you attend. A new class coming up, The Art of Letting Go. This is facilitated by Bernie Austin and Lita Martin. 4 Tuesdays. The details are out there in the social hall. They are both wonderful teachers, and I'll read a little bit more about it. It creates a fertile environment for change. How do we let go of habits, behaviors, conditions, and situations and embrace new beginnings, a new awareness, new possibilities, all the stuff that we teach here. How can you just let go? This class is experiential, involves being curious and open, and having the desire to shift perception and awareness. It's offered on a priceless pricing basis. After service opportunities, there's Sunday hospitality. You can bring stuff. You can go out there and get some food. And if you feel like chipping in some Sunday to bring some food, please be sure to do that. You can check out our bookstore. A reminder that next week we're having a class or a meeting on May 4th about service, about saying yes to kindness, and how we're getting everybody just to do a little tiny portion of the service here to expand our consciousness and expand our center. So you can sign up for that in there. And then also, last but not least, prayer with a practitioner. If you have a concern or something you want to celebrate, come on down front and get a prayer from our practitioners. They are wonderful, and they are delighted to pray with you. I think that's all we have for now. So let me invite you to stand up. And if our singers who want to lead the final song want to come to the stage, right? We're going to do the affirmation, and then we are going to sing. And there is a microphone over here from Ms. Dina. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so please read with me. Oh, look at that. I am held in Spirit's holiness, divinely guided by wisdom, courage, and love. I can never be separate. I am love. I share love. I serve love. Thank you for my life. And so it is. Thanks, everybody, and let's sing.
I want to sing, sing, sing. I want to dance, dance, dance. I want to sing, I want to dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I want to sing, I want to dance. Hallelujah. I want to sing, sing, sing. I want to dance, dance, dance. I want to sing, I want to dance. Hallelujah. When those gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I want to sing, I want to dance.
Hallelujah. And one more time, here we go.
I want to sing, sing, sing. I want to dance, dance, dance. I want to sing, I want to dance. Hallelujah. When the gates are open wide, I'll be standing by your side. I want to sing, I want to dance. Hallelujah.
Thanks, everybody. Namaste.